Okay, so let's talk about sharps and flats and how they can help us make triads become complex triads. In other words, not just DFA, but D minor, D major, D diminished, those kind of things. So let's say I have a DFA, that's the chord, and we know that that's 3 half steps plus 4 half steps, or 3 keys of the piano and 4 keys of the piano, and that's minor. What if we wanted to be major? Well, if we put a sharp on the F right there, then that F gets pushed to not this note, but that note right there becomes F sharp. And in doing so, it makes the distance between here bigger, so that will become 4 instead of 3 now. But then, because it encroaches on this one, it makes that one smaller, and that becomes 3. In other words, raising the middle note up with a sharp changes it from 3 plus 4, which is minor, to 4 plus 3, which is major, which is the chord that was used for your A, B, C, D, E, F, G song. It would be bad if I just did DFA, because you'd be like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It would sound contrary to the song. But if I changed it into the major chord that it's needed for, A, B, C, D, E, F, G kind of thing, then it fits better. And so by putting a sharp or a flat with the chord in the right place, you can change the distance between the notes and change the quality. D, F, A is D minor, but D, F sharp, A is D major. Let's reset this. What if we wanted to try something different? Let's try an E chord. E, G, B. Okay? And we know that from our past work, we're just measuring right now, that this is also a minor chord. This is 3 plus 4 right there. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, the distance between these things. And that sounds like this. What if I wanted to make it a diminished chord instead of minor? Well, then I would need to make the distance between the G and the B one smaller. So I would go up here to the B, put a flat in front of it. Now it's not B, it's B flat. And B flat is not here anymore, it's there. And so it becomes smaller distance, 1, 2, 3, 3 plus 3. So E minor becomes E diminished. Somehow the minor chord got even more tragic, became diminished like that. And that's the gist of it. And we will learn the ins and outs on how to do that. Before we can go on and use the materials in your packet to help you learn how to spell complex triads, major triads, minor triads, diminished triads, starting on any note, we have to do a little bit more terminology here. I've been saying, oh, the distance between the first and second note is 4 half steps, and then the distance between the second note of the chord and the third note of the chord are 3 half steps, etc. These have dedicated names. The first note is called the root of the chord. The second note of the chord is called the third of the chord, and the last note or third note of the chord is called the fifth of the chord. And it's really easy to understand if you look at these note names in order. If you think of the root as the beginning of a tree, and we'll just call that 1, okay? Then as you walk up the names of the notes, 1, 2, 3. This is called the third because if you started on 1 with the root and counted up the note names, then that's number 3. And the fifth would be right there as well. You can even guess then if you see a chord that says it's got a 7th, what that would be, because you just keep going up. So although we won't get to chords with 7ths until later in the term, you could just keep going up and adding a 7th or a 9th or whatever. So it's important that as we talk about chords and say, how do you change a G major chord into a G minor chord, we're going to summarize that by saying, oh, you flat or lower the third of the chord. And what that means is you lower the middle note of the chord. So first note of the chord is the root. The second note of the chord is called a third, because you go 1, 2, 3 up the names of the notes. And then the last note of the chord is called the fifth, because you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And so as we move forward and say, how do you change this into that, you need to make sure that you recategorize these notes as root, third, and fifth.